Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited that you are here for our weekly power hour. We do this each and every week on Tuesday at this time, but today I'm super excited about what we're going to talk about today. But before we get to that, if you're new here, let us know that in the chat or down below in the comments. We meet the first through the fourth Tuesday of every month. So we do have what we call the miracle of the fifth week. So we encourage all members to take some time on the fifth week to work on their business instead of in their business, or imagine this, take some time off, right? Have fun, do some things. So we meet this time at 2 Central. We either have a members market, a speed networking, or like today, we have a guest speaker. If you are interested in checking out the National Association for Christian Women Entrepreneurs, go to NACWE, NACWE.com. So I know we like to say NACWE. It's not any prettier, but it's definitely shorter, right, than the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs. In case you don't know me, I'm Heather Rawson. I'm the president and CEO, which I call myself the Chief Experience Officer. And so we of NACWE. And so we're going to dive in. We're going to have a few announcements and then we're going to pray. Shout out to our newest members in the last 14 days. So if you see them online, say hello, greet them, and welcome them in. We will be doing an onboarding session in the next few weeks. I will send you an email when we get that scheduled so we can show you around and you don't miss anything, because there is so much inside of NACWE. It's crazy. This is what we've been talking about all month long: pricing and sales, right? So we started off with me talking about purposeful profits, pricing in such a way that is God honoring. And then we heard from Sarah Massey, who did VIP days. If you missed that and you remember, go into your members area. It is phenomenal. Each and every month, we have a members market where our members come in and we live stream out to the group, and they get to tell everybody what they are promoting right now, what they're promoting this month. So they get to let everybody just know what's going on. And today we have Tasha Smith, Sales Without Stress, your guide to high converting conversations. So Tasha is right in line with what we believe here in NACWE with sales, which is it's relationship driven. And so I'm super excited for her to be with you guys. This is everything we have coming up in the next little bit. I do not want to go into this, but if you want to know, take a screenshot. Lindsay's also going to post it. She posted, sends it out everywhere afterwards, like all this stuff goes out. So feel free to take a screenshot. We have a lot happening. We always have a lot happening around here. But it's good. We always like to say NACWE is like a buffet, and it's not a normal buffet. It's like a Las Vegas buffet, right? With all the things you can choose from. And yet, like, it can feel overwhelming. So make sure you're just picking the things that you want to participate in, because we are here for you. So today's key verse of the week is Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8. This verse is picked by our guest speaker. So Tasha sent us this one. And it says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, and whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent and or praiseworthy, think about such things, right? The word says, as we think, so we are. So these are the things telling us to focus on and think about. And as we do that, just a reminder, here at NACWE, we are an organization of women who all run businesses that are built on the foundation of Christ, but they're not all Jesus forward. In fact, Chick-fil-A leads with chicken, right? Interstate Batteries leads with batteries. Tasha is here with us. She leads with sales. She's helping the entire online marketing world, right, do sales in a way that's honoring without actually saying, hey, this is God honoring, right? Like, it's a good thing. But her quote for this week is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Absolutely true. It's why NACWE exists 12 years later. And so just welcome to the room. I'm going to pray really quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tasha, and we're going to go. If you guys give us a little grace at the end, we might go a little bit past the top of the hour, right? But I promise you it's going to be such good information, I'm not even going to mind. So, Father God, thank you for each and every person in the room right now, Lord. Each and every woman here, Lord, has a mission that you have set them on. And I ask that you lead them and guide them, make their paths straight, Father, and we just ask that we go where you would have us go. And so, Father, I thank you for each and every one. I ask that we hear from Tasha what you would have us hear. So we love you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, Tasha, I'm going to stop sharing so that she can take over. But here we are, Tasha Smith, your guide to high converting conversations.
All right.
There we go.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Tasha. I'm so happy to be here with you today. We're going to talk about sales without stress. The first thing I'm going to do is explain the difference between marketing and sales. Then we're going to have a real honest conversation about what is hard about converting the leads that you have. You're probably wondering, who's this Tasha person? Should I listen to anything that she says? Fair point. Give you a couple of minutes of background, and then we'll jump into like the core stuff for today. We'll talk about what is sales, what is the secret sauce, and how to inspire action without being pushy. As Heather mentioned, I wish it would be really great if I could teach you everything about sales in about 50 minutes. So that would be amazing, right? It's a pretty tall order. So we have put together a course for y'all. And I'll show it to you at the end. We'll hook you up with a great deal. If you like it, if you want to pay full price, you can do that as well. But I'll show you that. And then I have a few minutes extra I can stay on for questions if you guys have any. And I also want to let you know, this is not a teaser webinar. Have you guys been on a teaser webinar before? Where they're like, I will tell you everything you need to go from 0 to $10 million in a month in 45 minutes. They end up talking about themselves the whole time. And you get nothing unless you sign up for their $20,000 program, right? Do you guys like those? I do not like those either. So we're not going to do that today. We're going to talk as if you guys are clients. We're going to really jump in and give you some really tangible things that you can take right away and make sales. So how does that feel to everyone? Good? Okay, cool. So first I want to start off by just talking about the difference between marketing and sales. And if this is fuzzy in your brain, it's going to really impact your business. So marketing is over here. This is about attracting eyeballs and generating leads. And it's typically measured by the number of leads you get. Like people added to your email list, people added to your Facebook group, referrals, stuff like that. Sales is about converting the leads you already have. So this is a marketing activity, sales activity. It's measured by the number of offers. It's measured by closing percentage and average order. I'm going to give you all my notes in a little bit, so don't stress too much. Here's where it gets really confusing. Marketing, this is the English language at its finest. Marketing plus sales equals sales. So sales is both an activity, a part of the process, and the result. And so because of this the weird English thing, I'm sure in every other country, every other language, this is much clearer. But because it's marketing plus sales equals sales, it gets confusing. How many of you guys can relate to this concept, that it gets confusing? And so what happens is we smush marketing and sales together as if it's one thing. And this impacts our client journey. This impacts our ability to show up powerfully. And what it also does is it creates holes in our bucket. So if you have a bucket and you want water, the marketing is pouring the water into the bucket, and the sales is the actual bucket. And if you have holes in your bucket, does it matter how much water you pour through? What will happen to all of the water if it's just going to go right out the bottom? Can anyone relate to that feeling like your sales process right now? right? So you pour in all the marketing, TikTok, Instagram, email list, everything goes through and then just like falls right out the bottom. And so what we're going to do is we're not going to talk about the marketing piece. There are many wonderful, wonderful marketing experts out there. We are going to talk about the sales piece, the converting of the leads. So all that being said, I want to go ahead and just open up Pandora's box. It's going to be so freeing and healing for everyone. And you can unmute or you can put it in the chat. What is hard for you about closing the leads you already have? And you can say anything, it'll be fine. What's hard for you? Okay, so Veronica says need some steps. Laquel, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm driving, so I can't type. What I found in my industry, I own my own clothing apparel line, a Christian clothing apparel line. People like my content. They like when I post online, and they like my apparel. But it's just that that's just where it stops. I'll get like a few and far in between people that will say they want to purchase. But a lot of times, you know, you hear a lot of not right nows. And I used to get like really frustrated regarding, but nonetheless, I trust God. You know, like I said, I know He gave it to me, and I have no doubt that it's going to be utilized for what it's for, which is a vehicle, a tool to witness to as many people I can about Jesus Christ. But basically, with regards to, like I said, in this market, because there's so many people out there that are kind of almost alike, along the lines of what I do, I've learned that just because it doesn't mean that it's the same, because I'm uniquely made, just like we were uniquely made in the eyes of God. We were made in His image. So He made us and He defined us through Him, but we all are called to do things differently in regards to our own life walk. I thank God for what He gave to me. And like I said, sometimes people kind of shy away. They'll like it from afar, or they'll like it, but they just won't purchase. So that's where I'm kind of stuck at right now, like trying to get people to buy.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is going from interest to them actually taking the action.
Correct. Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
And I see everyone's head just going like a room full of bobbleheads, kind of. We have several votes for asking about money. Who can relate to that? Asking about the money or asking for the money. Diane says no one wants to talk about insurance. I had an insurance client once. He said the statistics show people would prefer to go to the dentist than to talk about life insurance. I found that alarming. How many of you guys can relate to people? You know, I talk about sales, by the way, so I get what you're saying right now. How many of you can relate that what you do is not necessarily something people are pumped to talk about? Is it just me and Diane? A couple of us? Okay. People disappearing after the offer, their lack of understanding of quality over quantity. Oh, Tristy says, I can get them in the DMs and then I vomit. Anyone willing to confess? I've done it. No, I appreciate your honesty. Worry if it's too high for them. So again, talking about the money. Kelly says she thrives in a one-on-one setting. Those are hard to get these days. Yep. I know the value of my services and have established notifications, but they've come to an end after a few follow-ups. Time investment in a sales call. I don't like staying on the phone that long. I assume they don't like it either. That's what it takes. Staying on mission. All right. Run into people not wanting to invest in themselves, value proposition. No one wants to talk about bookkeeping either. Yeah, we all need it. All right, we've got a lot of good ones. So building trust is a problem. So I'm noticing some themes. One theme I see is asking for money. Another one is building value. Third theme just is in that transition to that appointment. Is that right? Am I catching that? And the trust that goes along with it. We're getting a bunch of think about it or people right on the fence. Are those the big themes that you guys see? Yeah. Okay, cool. How does it feel to know that you're not the only one that feels frustrated with this? Better? Okay, good, because you are certainly not alone. So we're gonna jump in here. Before I do that, I wouldn't personally take advice from anyone whose values that I don't share. And so I will give you a little bit of context. So I started my career, this is always a funny part, everyone laughs, selling Cutco knives. Who here has heard of Cutco knives? So I was that kid in college. I was 20 years old. I started selling. I was there for, I can't even remember anymore, but 4 or 5 years. I did pretty well. I sold $140,000 worth of knives personally, all through referrals. I recruited over 1,000 direct sales reps. We did over $1.4 million in sales. But this was back in the 2000s before direct sales was cool like it is today. And so I took all that experience. I went to corporate America. I started in sales. I worked as a new hire trainer, and then I was a sales manager, and I was doing well there as well. I actually hit the salary cap at the company I was working in. But I was 35 years old. My kids were 3 and 5. I live in Southern California, so I was driving an hour and 15 minutes each way. And I was staring down that same thing for the next 30 years with no advancement opportunities. How does that sound to everyone? Bad, right? So I was like, well, I got to do something else. But I was like, I only have one marketable skill. That's teaching non-salespeople how to sell things. So I put up a podcast and with 3 episodes, thinking I would help like people like CPAs or IT professionals that would be really, really smart in their expertise, but they wouldn't actually have the fundamental sales skills to be able to make a living. So I put up 3 episodes, took my kids to karate, and I ran into my friend Catherine, and I'd met her twice, and she closed her eyes and she's like, come to my thing, her sales event. And I snarkily responded, oh, of course I'll come if you listen to my podcast. How many of you guys would trade a sales appointment for listening to 3 podcast episodes? Yeah, joke's on Catherine though. She listened to the 3 episodes, text me later, I think I want to hire you. I was like, I don't even know what to do. Okay, so I threw it out there. I helped her with her sales conversation. In her business, it was a network marketing business. She went from $50 a month to $450 the next month. So then her friend hired me, got 12 sales that next month, which was more than the previous year. So now I'm making $400 a month as a sales coach. It's a pretty good time to quit my job, right? Well, I heard God say, get out of the boat. So out of the boat I went. So I left my job. Through the referrals, we did pretty well. That first year, we did about 80,000, which I think is solid for a first-year coach. The second year, we did 1.4 million, which I don't wish on my worst enemy. And over the past 8 years, we've been working with various entrepreneurs. We have a lot of people in network marketing. We have a lot of coaches we work with, knowledge providers, different people, and our average client triples their sales in like just a few months. And so sometimes people will say, okay, Tasha, what's the deal here? Why is it that your people do so well? And I think it's because of this. I am not the guru who's like, here is everything that I've done, do it exactly like I do. I am your customer saying, please, for the love, could we please make it easier to buy? How many of you believe in the life-changing properties of your products or service? Then I believe you have a moral and ethical obligation to learn how to sell well. Because if you don't sell well, I am the one who has unnecessary suffering. But none of us want to be in sales, do we? How many of you said, I'm not a salesperson? Yep. So you're not a salesperson. So you're like, I'm not a salesperson, not a salesperson. Because we think about that like high pressure, pushy person, right? So we don't want to be that. And so now our closing percentage is really bad. We would never come to a sales training. I'm so impressed that Heather got you to come to this one, by the way, because people don't want to go to sales training. And so out of 10 conversations, how many people usually buy? Average entrepreneur. Yeah, usually 1 or 2. We got a 5. That's great. Well done. 1 or 2. So you have your 1 out of 10 closing percentage. You're sad. And you feel so sad all the time, right? So you go to mindset training to deal with all the rejection instead of sales training to actually not get rejection. So you go to the mindset training. They're like, tell your story, follow up, keep at it, keep swimming, Dory. And so we rely on telling our story, following up until someone buys or dies. And who have we accidentally become? We've accidentally become that person. This is the problem. We get so wrapped up in what will people think about us that we forget to look at the process from the customer or the client's perspective. And so we need to switch the way we look at this. And so our core philosophy when it comes to sales is this, and you guys can write this down. Our customer comes first, our team comes second, and our ego comes third. How many of you are willing to sign off on that philosophy? Good. So the way we think about sales is we're like, what are all the reasons that the customers won't or clients won't buy? We write all of those down and we just handle them before it comes up. So that way, when you get to the end, people could just buy. And I think for those of us as faith, this isn't a faith-based presentation necessarily, but I do want to add this little part here. I had this client, her name's Sarah, and she felt like God was calling her into her business. Like really, really clear. And she was not making any sales. And you know what she told me? She said, I feel like maybe I heard God wrong. I was like, that hurts, right? She's like, God is telling me to do this thing and I'm not successful. So what does that mean? I have the faith. I have all the things. How many of you guys can relate to this concept or know someone who's felt this way? And so I was like, well, let me see your sales conversation. And I was like, oh, no. It's not your relationship with God that's the problem. It's your sales conversation is pretty bad. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, let's fix it. She made 23 sales the next month and she no longer felt like she had an issue with her faith. And so sometimes the faithfulness of the Christian entrepreneur actually leaves us in a place where we are less skilled. And so that's why I gave Lindsay and Heather that verse, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is admirable, excellent, and trustworthy, whatever. Could we have a sales process that met all of those adjectives? And if we invested some energy into that, what would happen in our business? How do you guys feel about that concept? Good? All right, cool. I do not want you to get writer's cramps. I think that would just be so sad. So how many of you guys want my notes? I'll give you all my slides. Okay, but you have to make 2 deals with me. Number 1, you have to send me a Facebook friend request. And second, you have to promise not to use my slides and start a sales training company. Okay, yeah, nobody wants to do that. Never. Amy wants me to clarify what I said about faithfulness. Sometimes we're just like, keep swimming, right? We're like, I have faith that God's going to bring me the customers, and we don't actually apply excellence to our processes. It's just a little, right? Like God, I mean, I'm a Proverbs girl. So I'm like, look at all that wisdom. It's like, be prepared, be bold, right? And so sometimes our faith is like, I'm just going to, if it works out, it works out. And I'm not sure that's exactly the right approach. So all you need to do is tap on the link in the chat and just send me a message that says sales without stress. And I will give you a PDF of all my slides so that you can just really focus and be present here today. All right. So what is sales? Actually, okay. So what is sales? So we've already talked about our cultural idea of sales is pushy, greedy, self-centered, inauthentic. And so what this means is that we have this word, it's totally made up, guys, called salesy. How many of you guys have used that word, salesy? So my older daughter, she proofreads all of our emails. And she said to me the other day, Mom, your emails are so salesy. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Because everybody says how bad it is to be salesy. And she says, they're really thoughtful and good at sales. And I was like, yes, mission completed. Because what we need to think about is a different view of what the word sales means. My daughters do not have the same opinion about sales that many of us grew up with. because they have grown up with a different exposure to what sales is. It's not pushy, greedy, self-centered, inauthentic. In fact, these are the people that come across this way, they are the ones that are bad at the sales. They're not good at sales. But what happens because of this cultural idea is we're like, we do not want to associate ourselves with sales. And that is problematic. So we need a new definition and a new identity because our habits match our identity. How many of you here have worked with a high quality salesperson? Yeah, okay. How does that feel? Feels good, right? We feel good, cared for, and in control. The people that make people feel uncomfortable are the untrained people. And a trained salesperson is an expert in collaborative communication, communicating in a way that creates a win-win scenario. Sales, the definition of sales with all of the Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, Alec Baldwin stuff out there, right? All of this entertainment or the people sliding into our DMs, you know, it has a bad rap. But the actual definition of sales is it's an exchange of product or service for money. That's it. So people buy when they value your product or service more than the money in their pocket. People buy when they see your solution as alleviating their unnecessary suffering. And so what we're trying to do is actually matchmaking, right? We're trying to match their problem with our solution. What we're trying to do is find square holes for our square pegs. I get it. Sometimes people will be like, Tasha, you could sell ice to an Eskimo. And by the way, you're seeing this after 24 years. I was not that kid. And I was like, I would never, right? That's square peg, round hole. Except if I had ice, I would assume that the Eskimo needs to build their house. And maybe I would do prefab walls. And in that case, I could sell ice to an Eskimo because they have a need that their walls kept falling down. And so I'm going to build some really nice walls for them. And then it would be back to square peg, square hole. We are never trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. And so that leads me to believe that sales is matchmaking. And if we look at it that way, it feels so much better. We're not necessarily problem solvers until we're problem finders first. The other thing that is interesting about sales is it helps people to go from here to there. Here is where they're having unnecessary suffering. There is a better quality of life. Our product or solution is in the middle. So, would you guys agree a no sale is unnecessary suffering? Okay, so let's say I'm talking to someone and they are getting no sale upon 1 out of 10 is certainly unnecessary suffering, 100%. Our goal is 5 to 8 out of 10. So we're going to go from 1 out of 10, so much suffering, to 5 out of 10, right? More income, less time selling, more time serving, club volleyball for your kid. What the heck, by the way? Club volleyball? It's insane, right? And so my solution is the bridge that takes you from unnecessary suffering to a better quality of life. Do you guys all see that your product or service does the same? There is unnecessary suffering in the world in our products and service. Get people out of that. Even something as silly as the dish soap commercials and the image of you scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, and your whole family is out there playing and hanging out and you're scrubbing forever. And they're like, but use this dish soap. And then you just throw it in the dishwasher and you're out having fun with your family. That is here, unnecessary suffering. Your hands are broken from scrubbing the pan, to a better quality of life, better relationships with your family. So if sales is taking people from here to there, then is sales sales or is sales leadership? Because what do leaders do? Leaders take people from here to there. So if sales is leadership, what do people want in a leader? What people want in a leader, Gallup did the study. They asked everyone, I don't know, everyone, whatever their sample size is. They did this huge study. They said, what do you want in a leader? And the results came back: trust, compassion, stability, and hope. And so this is our secret sauce. What if we infused our sales conversation with trust, compassion, stability, and hope? My mom is an amazing cook. She takes chicken breast. Chicken breast is terrible, but the way she makes chicken breast, she makes this chicken curry that is just like, everyone's like to die for. It's the secret. It's the sauce, right? I've tried to duplicate it multiple times. She's like, you know, has her magical abilities because it's her secret sauce. So what if we did the same thing? We took chicken breast, a sales conversation, and we infused it with trust, compassion, stability, and hope. Wouldn't that change everything? Now, we can't just feel these things. We need, are you guys on board with these philosophies, by the way? Sales is leadership, sales is matchmaking. Yeah, okay, cool. We need communication skills that match those philosophies. Intention does not matter at all. Have any of you gotten in a fight with your spouse, but they had the right intention, but they said the wrong thing? And they're like, they say something, you're like, what? And then they're like, but I meant this. It's like too late. The words came out of your mouth. Our communication skills, we're not Care Bears. We can't just like stare our love at them and then get it. We actually need to have the words to say that match these philosophies. So, secret sauce. I'm not going to say we all know this, but I want to encourage you to consider not selling on the fly. Selling on the fly is like someone asks you about something, and then I think someone said it earlier, we like just tell them everything, right? We want to encourage you to set up an appointment. But a couple of you guys mentioned those are a little bit harder to get. So we take a step back and we ask, why do people not set up appointments? I'm going to pause here. I'm curious, what do you guys think? Why do people not set up appointments? Okay, time. Nancy,
Yeah, they don't know what to expect.
They don't know what to expect. Martha?
I think for me, I don't want them to feel rejected if it's not a good fit.
Yep. Okay, so afraid of if it doesn't work out, they don't want to be sold to, convinced. They think you're going to pressure them to buy. They're worried about the cost. Okay, so we already know all the reasons they're not going to do it. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me every day of my career. I know that's an adaptation of the quote. Shame on me. They're scared of different things. They might feel trapped. Right on. You guys get it? So I introduce you the usually approach. What if instead of vomiting on them, we say, usually what I do is set up a time to go over your blank goals, a little about my business, and the most popular programs. My part takes about 30 minutes. If it's a good match, great, we'll get you set up. If not, it's no big deal. I want to make sure you make the most informed decision. Is that something you'd be open to? How do you think customers or clients respond to that? I see a bunch of head nodding. Yeah. And why do you think they respond so positively? Laquelle loves it. And you can use this with clothing, by the way, and jewelry and all that. We'll just throw that average order out significantly.
Because it's personalized, it's looking first at what they want rather than what we want to offer them.
Yeah. Yeah. The most important topic of the conversation is what's important to them, not what's important to us. That goes back to that Teddy Roosevelt quote, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But you know what we have is we have a sales conversation that's flipped. We're like, hey, nice to meet you. Let me tell you all the things I know, and you should assume that I care. We actually take that Teddy Roosevelt quote and take it so literally that I'm not going to tell you anything I know until you know how much I care. Or very little, right? We have more open the approach. They don't feel trapped. It's not threatening. There's no pressure. Time frame expectation reassures them that we're respecting their time. It's not a timeshare presentation. No. sets expectation, keeps it easygoing. So let's break this down. I'll show you the sauce. So usually what I do, that phrase demonstrates stability. This is something I do often. We don't want to respond to people like, oh my gosh, you're interested. This is the first person I got interested, right? And we send off those desperate vibes. We're just like, usually what I do, typically what I do, normally what I do. P.S. That's how we got this training. I use this on Heather. Heather's like laughing. I was like, well, usually what we do is you promote our webinar to your entire audience. She's like, oh, that sounds very reasonable. Usually what I do shows stability and comfort. And that's what we want for people. It's just, it creates right emotion, right? Second, giving an agenda builds trust because they know exactly what to expect. I don't know how all the like balloons and fireworks come up, but I love it. I don't turn it off. Giving an agenda builds trust. They know exactly what to expect. Talking about their goals that's the first part of the agenda. This shows compassion and it gives hope because we're going to talk about what's important to them. It is not all about us. If it's a good fit, great, we'll get you set up. If not, no big deal. This builds trust because they know they're in charge and you are not going to hold them hostage. But it also plants the seed for moving forward. If it's a good fit, great, that's a hope line. If it's not, no big deal, that's a compassion line. We need both. We can't do one or the other, right? If all we do is say, and you don't have to buy anything, that actually transfers lack of confidence, belief, and enthusiasm. So we do both. If it's a good fit, great, hope. If it's not, that's fine too, compassion. And then everyone nods their heads like you're doing now. Is that something you're open to? And this shows compassion because we're asking for their consent. They can say yes or no. Pro tip, nobody wants to be closed-minded. So when you say, is this something you're open to? They're like, yes, I'm very open to it because you don't want to be closed-minded. In your actual appointment or conversation, follow this agenda, right? Their goals, a little bit about your business and the most popular program. That's how we're going to go about doing that. How does this feel to everyone? It's kind of magical, isn't it? Okay, we got to talk about the DMs. We got to talk about closing in the DMs. So here's my question for you. Can you build trust, show compassion, demonstrate stability, and give hope in a disjointed, interrupted conversation with no tone of voice or body language? Not that much. Really, really hard to do. Now, there are ways to do it, but I'm talking about the buying decision. I'm all for chatting people up in the DMs, right? That's where a lot of it starts. But actually making a decision, we don't even know where they are, right? They could be just chit-chatting. It's so disjointed. Now, it worked really, really well in 2020 and 2021. Did you guys notice that? People were like, here's my credit card, throwing it in the DMs because they had stimulus checks and nothing else to do. And so it kind of made it feel like that was what was going to happen, like how it was going to be forever, but it's not working so well anymore, is it? And I would say that some of that has to do with the trust, compassion, stability, and hope that is so desperately needed in modern business today. Currently works okay for things like workshops, repeat customers will buy in the DMs all day long. I could just be like, hey girl, got a new thing. They're like, add me. But it's really difficult for new customers to build that relationship and keep it going. And so this also creates a huge retention problem. Direct messages. So direct messages are when someone buys something in the DMs, it's transactional versus transformational. So when we're in a conversation with someone, we're talking about their goals as it relates to your industry. What's hard for them? How would fixing this improve their quality of life? Even something like bookkeeping, right? The stress of that. We're inviting them into a transformation, right? To go from here to there. So what happens to your client retention? goes straight up, right? Client retention is a function of your sales conversation, not your actual service a lot of times. It's how it's set up. And so when I buy in the DMs, hey, you want to buy this thing? I'm not engaging in a transformational conversation, so the context isn't right, so retention tends to go down. How many of you guys know, like, this is like, oh, like making sense? And so we have to be able to be like, would you be open to having an actual conversation about this? Or this is probably not the best mode to have this conversation. Usually what I do is set up a time to go over what's important to you when it comes to your business, little about our company, and the most popular programs. Blah, 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 blah. Is that something you'd be open to?
Do they have to know why we're asking them? Do they have to know anything about us before we ask them what's important to you?
Yeah, it depends on what the context of the conversation. So this is really the invitation part. So a lot of you guys are having conversations out there where you're having conversations and then it's like, hey, we should chat. And it falls. Right. And so it's at that point where we're like, if we put trust, compassion, stability, and hope in there, do we need to know a little bit like, yeah, I work with entrepreneurs on their sales skill. Yeah, they probably need something like that before that. But you're probably nailing that part. I'm not worried about that part. It's I think, tell me if this is accurate. You're getting to like the 8-yard line on a football game and then getting stuck and missing the field goal. So what I'm walking you through today is how do we get over the line, right? That last play, and it's the usually approach that works with that. So that's a great question. Okay, so now let's talk about creating action with your personalized sales process. So we need to have an inclusive philosophy. The sales process has different stages. And I'm going to talk about the difference between inclusion and pushiness. We need to be clear on what the stages in our process are so we can include them and pull them to the next step instead of push them. And a philosophical question is this: if you don't know what you want them to do next, how will they know what they're supposed to do next? I get it caught up in this as well. We're all humans, and it's like, I don't know, maybe you have a lead magnet, or maybe an appointment, or maybe a workshop, or maybe a this, and I get, kind of confused. What I need to know is what is their next step in their journey so that I can have a posture that is inclusive and invitational. If we are not including, we are excluding. So when we are in a space where we are like, I'm not sure they can afford it, if we haven't asked them a direct question about that, we are making an assumption and thereby excluding them. What we want to do is be excited about this appointment that's good and honoring and loving and compassionate and effective, so that we can have confidence, belief, and enthusiasm that this conversation, no matter what happens, whether they move forward or not, is going to improve their quality of life. Because no matter what happens, they're going to feel like a big hug or something like that, right? It's going to feel good either way. Decision is good for your potential clients, even if it's a no. So our confidence, belief, and enthusiasm in the next phase of our process is contagious. But so is the lack of confidence, belief, and enthusiasm. So when we're framing this as I'm trying to get an appointment, I'm trying to push them into my next step, we end up with a lack of confidence, belief, and enthusiasm. But when we are confident, we believe in our appointments, and we're enthusiastic about these conversations because they're clean, this allows us to include them and invite more powerfully and be more inclusive. I don't know, like this guy I heard about that was just like, hey, fisherman, follow me. I read a story about that once. But that's inclusive, isn't it? Come and follow. And I am not saying that we are Jesus, but I think that's a great role model for our boldness I assume that he said maybe more words than the 2 words. But when we have the usually approach, can you guys see how much easier it is to include people into the next step? And we can be more bold and more kind at the same time. Now, we do need skill at each stage. How we use our words conveys inclusion versus desperation versus unsolicited advice. Like the words you should meet with me. That is a shame word. That is unsolicited advice. And that's why we use the usually approach instead. Sets the stage for everything. Half of your closing percentage is a set. My daughter plays volleyball. And you know they can't spike it unless the set is good, right? So as you are going through your own sales process, you need a few things. First, you need a plan for success. If you do not understand your client journey or your goals around sales, not sales the dollars, sales the activities. If I don't know how many appointments I want, how many networking calls I need, how many invitations that means, how many offers, right? If I do not have goals for that, I'm going to be like a bag floating in the wind. Can plastic bags lead? No, they cannot. So we need a plan for ourselves. Connection, this is marketing. Then we have an invitation to appointments. Then we have what we call our 5-star sales conversation. And then we ask those people for referrals. We call it 5-star because the feeling that someone should have, whether they buy or not, is so good at the end of the sales conversation, they have 0 issues referring. In fact, they're excited to do it. Follow-up, I put if necessary. If we do our sales conversation right, how many of you guys like follow-up? I don't actually do very much. You know why? They say the fortune's in the follow-up, but the fortune is actually in pre-handling the objections before they come up and a high closing percentage. But that is not catchy, is it? So my closing percentage is 80% with a $3,700 average order. Do I have to do a lot of follow-up? Nope. And so that's why I put maybe. That's what, if necessary. The goal is that intense follow-up is just extra as opposed to the core of your business. That's the goal. So what are we covering in this 5-star sales conversation? So it's designed so that your customers would literally give you 5 stars on your sales process. It's so customer-centric, so enjoyable, and so empowering. The first thing we're going to do is give an agenda. And so you guys have seen me model this today, right? We're going to say exactly what we're going to go over, exactly how long it's going to take. We're going to let them know if they want to move forward, great. If not, no big deal. How does that sound? They nod their head. Then we're going to gain input. People do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. So we are going to start with what's important to them when it comes to your industry. What else? Why is now a good time to solve this problem? Things like that. We're going to put that first before you start talking about your company. When we talk about the company, we're going to pose it in here are the major problems we address. And here's what makes our methodology different, not better. When you say, like, if I were to say to you, hi, I'm Tasha, my sales training is better than anything else you've ever seen. How does that feel to you? Why are you laughing at me? It's like, ew, right? Although sometimes this is how we show up. So instead of that, we go, I have some sales training for you, and it's different than everything else that you've encountered because of X, Y, and Z. Now you're nodding your head instead of like you are a silly person. So we want to use differentiators, not reasons we're better. We're going to walk them through how it works very simply, and we're going to use 4th grade language. And we'll give a price context and a choice of 2. Has anyone ever tried to feed a toddler before? What happens if you give them one option? They throw it in your face. Would you like carrots? No. Would you like broccoli? No. Would you like whatever other vegetables there are? How do we feed a toddler? We give them 2 choices. Would you like broccoli or would you like carrots? Now, you still have a 40% chance that they're going to throw something at you. But your chances of success have just gone from 10 to 60% by giving a choice of 2. Because they are empowered. They are in control. And so what this means, friends, is we cannot fake it till you make it. Instead, skills pay the bills. I have 2 teenage girls, so we use the letter Z a lot more than is probably appropriate. But they would say skills pay the bills. So how'd we do? Would you guys be willing to humor me in the chat with one thing that you found helpful? Like, what was one takeaway that you guys had? Sales is leadership. Awesome. Thanks, Karen. Usually. Great. The usually approach. Matchmaking. Love that, Mary. Usually approach. You guys like that? Sales is leadership. Thanks, Jill. It can pay to be nice. Be mindful of your words. Usually 2 price options. Nice, Brenda. Be enthusiastic about your product. And I'll note, Diane, be enthusiastic, but don't have crazy eyes. You guys know what I'm talking about? I'm hoping you're laughing because someone else has done that to you, but I kind of feel like the amount of laughter we just got was a confession. Selling eyes to an Eskimo for their walls, the usually approach, choice of 2, team second, ego third. Oh, Sherry, I'm so happy. Sherry says, you've made it so easy and eased so many of my concerns about sales and having to be the salesperson. I have a moral obligation to share what I have to offer. Great transition. Are you guys cool if I spend 5 minutes showing you our course and then I'll stay on for questions? Okay. Okay, so introducing the 5-star sales skills course. This is where you'll be able to implement a sales process that is enjoyable for both you and the client. Our objective together in 6 weeks is to go from having sales slip through your fingers, feeling awkward during sales conversations, having many client objections, to transitioning conversations appropriately, feeling confident you are providing excellent sales experience to every single one of your clients, higher closing percentage, higher average order, and higher referral rates. Amen. This is perfect for you if you use appointments to convert prospects into clients. You want to stop having sales slip through your fingers. You want to add 20 to 100K to your revenue in the next 12 months. You're tired of winging it as you try to help clients, and you're done with the school of hard knocks. You know you can do this, and you want to speed things up. What makes this different is it's based on behavioral psychology, so it just works. It's not based on my personality or my charisma. It's easy to implement. You have simple steps so you know what to do even if you think you aren't good at sales. Very customer-centric language that strengthens relationships and increases retention. We are good with the real talk, real challenges, and real-world solutions. It's not a long membership. You can do this one step at a time, and the actual skills match the values of authenticity, kindness, and inclusivity. So I think it's a 4.5-hour course. Within just a handful of hours, one handful, you'll get a sales success framework. So you have a strategic foundation for your client journey and your goals. We'll just take a brief look at your offer and upgrade that so that it slides easily into your sales conversation. We'll teach you high impact appointment setting techniques, including reducing no-shows, trust building strategies in the first half of your sales conversation. The close is really what that 5th one is. So how to do that with ease, grace, and effectiveness, and a process for resolving client concerns that leaves everyone in a good place. How does this feel to everyone? Are those the right topics? Okay. So how it works, you watch the online videos, get the step-by-step, the course will be delivered instantly. Use the explanations, the ChatGPT prompts, the templates to customize for your business. If you like the way I've taught here today, that is the course is a less sensational version of this. And then you'll be able to implement tools and practice wording to improve your skills. The question about the context is how much revenue is slipping through the cracks. When I did some interviews on this, I found the average sale for a service provider is between $1,000 and $3,000. Improving just your closing percentage and your set rates would add an additional 2 clients per month. If we stopped there, it's significant. Increasing your word of mouth is an extra client per month. Increasing your client retention is an extra client a month. Bonus, peace of mind, the ability to stay in your zone of genius. This sales course actually means you get to spend less time in sales. not more time in sales. So you get to actually do the things that you want to do in your business, and you feel less guilty when spending time with your family because you're getting it done. The value of these skills is between $4,000 and $12,000 per month, depending on your offer price and delivery model in the interviews that we did for people. So we have two options for you. One, you could do DIY, online only. You'll get the course, the prompts, the templates. This should be a $1,500 course. We sell it for $497 because our mission is to make this accessible. But since Heather is hosting today, we are going to give you a discount of 20% off. So that makes the online course $397. If you would like one-on-one support, you can get the option where you have the course and the templates and the prompts, but also 60 days of DM access to me. So you can send me your goals and tell me, I can tell you if I think they're right. You can send me your sales conversation. I can tweak it if necessary. So you'll be able to get personalized feedback so you do not get stuck, and you don't have to, post in a group publicly. You can be stuck privately without shame. That one would normally be $997 with the 20% off at $798 or 4 monthly payments of $220. This is my wait, there's more part. So you can use the September Sept 27 link for 20% off, but the first 3 people to purchase will also give you a 30-minute one-on-one with me. We're in the expansion phase of our business, and so we're spending a lot of time with people so that we really understand what their needs are. So it helps you and it helps me. I'll put the link in the chat. Are the calls recorded? There are no calls for this. I don't know why that's there. I have blank type of business. Will this be good for me? If you use appointments in your sales process, this will work for you. If you are a network marketer, we have a specific program that includes recruiting. So just let me know. We do offer one-on-one coaching. So you can email Karen, my business partner, or you can ask me about that. What about accountability and extra help? We trust you're a professional, able to work independently. That's why we put an online course there. But we are here to guide you through roadblocks. You can contact us for options for one-on-one sessions. If you have any other questions, you can chat with us, either me or you can message my business partner, Karen. So I will put this link in the chat. Heather, you said there's a question?
Yeah, Carmen was asking earlier, you were talking about selling in the DMs, and she was like, well, is there a certain amount that you really have to jump on a call for? Or, and so she was saying,
So the amount really depends on target market.
Yeah.
So for our target market, where a majority of our business is network marketing, and a $600 product is like, that is significant for them. They want to have a conversation. But if I'm talking to one of my clients runs a $10 million coaching company, a $600 product is a tiny offer in that, to that level of client. So I think what I would ask you is to look at your percentages of offers. And if your percentages of offers is not at the rate it needs to be for you to reach their goals, I'm going to say get really good at the one-on-ones so that you can really fine tune anything in the DMs. But I will also say, and one of the things we cover in the second part is the 2 option model, right? I have a $497 course, but I also have a $997 option. That now makes it something that makes sense to have an appointment with. Because if I have an appointment with someone, if I did an appointment, you would probably buy the $997. Right? Because once you have the, tell me about your goals, blah, 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 we have this connection, and then you would end up with a higher average order. So there are also some tweaks that can be made to make your sales process, I guess, more sellable and also better suited. So what we did is our first course was $600, but we just went to, okay, and then we'll just do a year of coaching, which was $1,800. And so our average order jumped from $627 because we had some add-ons to $1,300. That's now worth doing appointments. But selling in the DMs, guys, is not less time in my experience. Because if you think about all the back and forth that happens and the lower closing rate, do you actually save time selling in the DMs in 2024? I'm not talking about 2020 or 2021. That's different. So that's my thought on the investment for the course. I'd try adding a second option that's a little bit more premium. It's probably going to really help the health of your business. But if you are in the DMs or you are selling via video, you can note that I followed every single part of the 5 keys or the 5-star sales conversation in this webinar. If I'm in the DMs, I'm going to follow every step of the 5-star sales conversation in the DMs. It's really so much more about the trust, compassion, stability, and hope than it is about the modality.
Yeah, I love that. Gwen also asked, and it came, just so you know, Gwen, it came to me as just to me, so Tasha can't see it, but I'm gonna ask her, how long will we have access to the online course?
Ooh, so I mean, we're not going to take it away. It's lifetime. So my lifetime, not yours. So
Time of the course.
lifetime of the course. That's a funny legal term, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lifetime access. 60 days on the DM access though. We do really want to recommend that you try to, it's like 30 minutes to an hour each, that you go one at a time every week. We really want you to finish.
Yeah, that's so good.
It's also could be a weekend.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have any other questions, content or course specific? We gotta raise
Oh,
good. Is it just Desta or Desta Jean?
Either, but Des says
Okay,
content.
great.
I was just wondering, I haven't even launched yet.
Oh,
So, I've spent so much money on getting to this point where I am almost ready to launch that I just want to be wise with what I do. I love you and I want to be just like you when I grow up, but I'm already grown up and grown up. But so I do want to thank you though, because it was very inspiring, very very real and relatable.
good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. If you guys are early on in your business, the questions I would have for you, well, the real one big question is, do you have a sales conversation outline that is engineered for conversion? And that will make you back millions of dollars. That one thing. So it's usually the one piece missing in business launches. I don't know, Heather, if you have thoughts on that. You've seen so many business.
No, yeah, I totally think so. The beautiful thing right here with you guys is, my expertise is lead generation and marketing, and Tasha's is sales. So when she's talking, it's like the whole bridge, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, so I do think that sales conversation is a huge piece, like, because when people are talking to you, they want to know that what you're offering them is actually going to help them. And quite honestly, there have been times I've been on a sales conversation with somebody and I knew I wasn't the right fit for them next, and I sent them somewhere else, because that's what we do when we put the customer first, the client first.
Yeah, I think
So
that's right. Yeah. And the sales conversation is a critical piece that a lot of people, pretty much every company is missing, to be honest, unless you're a sales training company. But even then, sometimes. I'll have one question from Carmen. Does the sales cycle work for corporate clients, not just the one-on-one? So the sales process works on humans because it's psychology based. So whether you're in a corporate situation or in a business to consumer situation, you will still need trust, compassion, stability, and hope. That being, so there will be things useful, right? The model is built neutral. What it's not going to talk about, it's not going to talk about how to get to the gate through the gatekeeper. It's not going to talk about like the nuances of getting to the appointment. But when you're in that appointment with the decision makers in a corporate setting, you'll want to make sure you nail the agenda, the what's hard for you, the what we do, how it works, and how to move forward. You'll want all of those pieces in there regardless. So some of this is built straight from business to business stuff as well. It's an integration of that.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Martha.
The written sales conversation, is that then just how it works? Because can we really do the other part ahead of time?
So the 5 parts of a sales conversation are the agenda, questions you ask,
right,
your company story, what's included, how it works, and then the choice of two, price, context, and choice of two. So
Okay.
there's several pieces. And so most people are winging their sales conversation. They're like, tell me what you need. Let me customize something real quick and see if it fits. And it works some of the time, but that's the sales conversation format that
Thank you
use.
so much.
And it can, like I said, it can be adapted to a workshop and such. Okay, Kimberly says, what's different about your course for a network marketer? It has recruiting in there. So network marketers need the leadership piece integrated into their sales process. They also have a retention piece that's absolutely critical. So this one for service providers is 6 weeks. The network marketing one is 8, actually. Is there something included in your course about keeping control of the call? So getting your agenda and the input right really helps with that. You said your clients can get chatty. I sell Medicare. So with certain things, I probably insert there's a slide where I address that for sure. But we will first consider if the chattiness leads to a higher closing percentage, because if it does, it's worth it. Just like it's worth it for me to stay 12 minutes on extra and give you extra love, like it helps. So we don't really always want to cut that off, but maybe for seniors that don't have a lot of people to talk to, I would probably frame the input section as Reader's Digest version. Where are you now and where do you want to be? I just insert, tell me real quick. Although with that particular population, I see that is just going to be a challenge. And so you'd want to work that into your estimate of time. It's not that the sales conversation has to be 30 minutes. It's that you just need to be accurate about what it is.
Yeah.
The cost for network marketers, $297. Just send me a message. I'll find it. Okay. Network marketing course right there. Heather, thank you so much for inviting me into the community and letting me tell my cheesy jokes.
Thank you so much for being here, Tasha. We appreciate you. And I know this is a topic that I'm so glad that you guys all showed up for, because it does make night and day difference on your revenue, like huge amounts, like plain and simple, right? So I'm just glad that you guys all made the time today to be here live and show up. It matters. And I appreciate you.
Well, we'll send you all if you register the recording shortly. And Heather and Lindsay, thank you guys so much for being such awesome hosts. We're really grateful for our relationship.
Thank you. Us too.
Thank you.
Have a
Very
good
nice.
day, everyone.
We pray you have an amazing week, and God bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you.
Yay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.